Hello, life group leaders. I'm in a little different location. I'm sitting in my kitchen this morning and doing this video a little bit earlier. It's been Sunday mornings usually whenever I am able to get to this, but I'm not going to be here this Sunday. We're taking some vacation time this weekend and going to go celebrate the 1 year anniversary of Evan's adoption. And so I wanted to make sure that I got this to you prior to us leaving. And there's just a few things I wanted to go over with you this week. Number one is that the story that you're going to be going over, at least part of the story, one of the stories in this passage this week, is the one that we went over in boot camp. And if you remember how that went, I don't know how it went in your group, but every time that I've gone over it in boot camp, it has been one that's been extremely powerful. And so I want to make sure that you're praying and ready for this Sunday's life group, because I think it could be really impactful and you all could share some real meaningful things with each other in your groups this week. I wanted to draw attention also to, on the bottom of the lesson this week, week 18, I want to draw your attention to the discipleship tips. Let me just go over those with you. The first one is, are you modeling how to go after the lost by calling your people when they are absent? It's extremely important that we do this. What will happen is, if we don't call people whenever they're not there, if they're gone more than 1 week and they don't hear anything, they're going to think, well, nobody cared, or they don't even know I'm gone. And you may think, well, they shouldn't feel that way, but the reality is that's the way people feel many times. And so I want to encourage you, knowing that not all of these members of your group are spiritual parents like we looked at on the discipleship wheel. They need you to come after them. They need you to bring them back in, and they need to know that you care about them. And so make sure you're calling each one that isn't there each week. Next, how do you let those people that don't want to be part of the group go? And you might have to go back to that God's part, my part, their part in the training. This is going to be different, I believe, with each person in each group, but go back and look at that discipleship wheel, and that'll kind of give you some insight in that. And then lastly, do the people in your group know that they are also responsible for others? I think that's extremely important, and I'll just tell you, not to give any details, but we've had to kind of walk our people in our group through that. Um, they didn't know what they should do. A member wasn't coming, and so they were asking me questions. Should we call them? And I had to encourage them. Yes, do that. Let them know, because just because I'm a pastor and that I'm supposed to be doing those things doesn't mean that other people aren't. And so just because you're the group leader, and yeah, that's part of your responsibility as a facilitator and co-facilitator, doesn't mean that it's not the responsibility of the rest of the group. Whenever we're living life together, that means we're invested in one another. And so let's make sure we're training them to go after one another, to just care for one another and love one another in that way. Also, I wanted to remind you that next Sunday night, October 15th, not this coming Sunday night, but the next one, we were going to be having our life group celebration / testimony time / business meeting. And all of that is going to be hopefully a great night. We're going to meet in the CAC. We're going to provide some drinks and some cookies. If your group wants to bring their own food, we're going to set up tables, because we'll be sitting around tables that night. It's going to kind of be that bring your own meal night. If people in your group want to do that, I wouldn't, try to do this massive potluck for your group at that time, but they can go by and get a Subway sandwich, or they can bring sandwiches from home. And like I said, we're going to have some cookies and some drinks there that night. But the idea is for us to celebrate what God's doing in these life groups. And we're going to have testimonies interspersed throughout the business meeting as we conduct the rest of the business. And so I want to encourage you, talk to your people again this week. Find out who is willing to give a testimony that night. And let me know that as soon as possible, preferably Monday morning. Let me know who that is so we can schedule that and get the flow of how Sunday night's going to work. If you don't have somebody that's willing to give a testimony, maybe somebody in your group would be willing to write that out. And either you or somebody else in the group could get up and share that testimony for them. Because if there's somebody that life group that really touched, but yet they're just scared to get up in front of people, that's understandable. But we need to hear. And so encourage them to write that out, and then it can be read or even printed, and we can hand those out. But at any rate, please get somebody or even kind of nudge them a little bit if you think life groups has made an impact on their life. Lastly, I want to look at these life application questions in this week's study. We're involving more than just the prodigal son. That's what we did in the boot camp, was just the story of the prodigal son. But you can see that there's a couple more parables in there that Jesus tells that goes with this. It's a pretty long passage for whoever's going to be telling that story this week. But in question number, I really want you to emphasize the life application question number 2, because I think that is extremely important, because it goes along. It's a follow-up question, question 1, which is how important to God is your lost family member or relative who is lost. But question number 2 makes that extremely personal, and it forces people to do some self-evaluation and say, really, how important are they to me? Am I willing to take a step of faith, share the gospel, go after those people? And so I think that could be extremely important and impactful on your group. Also, lastly, in that last question under life application, it says, which of the characters in the story do you most clearly resemble and why? Now, the question that was asked to us in the boot camp, that was asked to you in the boot camp, was which character do you most identify with? And I'm not trying to just play a semantics game. I just think that identify with, clearly resemble, I think that could be a little, the clearly resemble could be a little muddy for people. And so you might consider, I'm not telling you need to change the phrasing, but you might consider changing that phrasing to identify with instead of resemble, because I want this to be something that's impactful. Again, be praying for your groups this week. I just really feel like this is going to be a great week, and we're going to hear some good things as a result of this life group. I want to encourage you to keep going. I mean, why are we doing this? We want to make disciples who make disciples. And that is going towards the end of living life together, living transformed lives together. We're pushing toward that vision. This is our mission that we've been given, and this is the methodology we're using. And so it's God's plan. It's not anything we've come up with. It's simply God's plan. If we do things God's way, He's going to bless it. And so if you got any questions between now and Sunday, please give me a call. And I hope you're looking forward to a great life group this week. Talk to you soon.